触れてみたい秘密と壊してみたい夜の中で間違いだらけの遊びしようよ別に意味とかないけどさ眠い目をこするあれ間違せはなち君はまだ履き違え触れてみた秘密とこうしてみた夜の中で間違いだらけの遊びしようよ触れてみたい秘密と壊してみたい夜の中で間違いだらけの遊びしようよ別に意味とかないけどさ眠い目をこする見たい秘密と壊し
Good afternoon, everybody. We will be starting in about a few minutes. Just give a little time for more people to join, and we will start in about 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. All right, looks like we have quite some people joined already. We'll go ahead and get started. Today, I'd like to introduce our instructor, Lisa Adams. She is MS in Educational Psychology. Lisa Adams has been helping students grow academically for over 20 years as an educator with a passion for teaching language arts, AP English, reading, writing, and SAT, ACT prep courses. As a literacy specialist, she has presented inspiring professional development and coaching to teachers, gifting them with specific skills and inspiration to tackle their students' literacy needs. As an SAT ACT chief scoring leader, she mentored scoring leaders and raters to accurately apply to a rubric and score the SAT ACT essay writing. So let's give a warm welcome to Lisa.
Thank you, Anna. How is everybody doing tonight or this afternoon? I hope well. I think we're all in the same position of being sick of being stuck in our houses for several months now. So hopefully we're going to learn some stuff tonight. Okay, so why are you thinking about taking this class? We know that colleges and even private high schools sometimes require personal statements, personal essays for students to write, or what we call autobiographical writing. This can sometimes be difficult because we're not used to writing about ourselves. We're used to writing about, research papers, um, and writing about ourselves. Kind of sometimes we think we're bragging or we're uncomfortable talking about what we're really good at, and that's what we want to do because we want the colleges to want to accept us. So we want to talk about what we do really well. So during this class, we're going to have fun. And I know you're bored because I know you've been home for months. So we're going to have fun and we're going to talk about autobiographical writing. Personal statements are what colleges call them. The other thing that will happen is because we're going to be practicing writing so much, it's going to improve other aspects of your writing skills. Sometimes I know your teachers probably tell you not to use the word I or me in your essays because that's considered first person. This is actually the best time. This is when you will be using I and me because you're going to be talking about yourself. You're going to be talking about things that you've experienced, life lessons, and you're going to walk away with some really, really good drafts that you can improve upon in practice all the way until you start applying for colleges. So by the end of this class, you will be able to identify key character building moments of your life. So they don't want to just hear about why you're just a great person, which I'm sure you are. They want to hear about life lessons, things that you've learned, things that have built your character and how it built your character, very specific and unique life lessons and key moments. So you are at the perfect age to start thinking about that. These key moments and life lessons you may not even have learned yet. You might be writing about something that's going to happen 3 years from now, but the skills that you're going to build in this class will help you to identify those things and be able to write a really awesome personal statement when you do apply for college. We're going to look at a lot of great samples, so you know what I'm talking about when I say personal statement. And also be thinking about your past accomplishments, potential accomplishments, because most of you aren't in high school yet. Let me see. Let's do a little poll. Let's do a little poll here. Well, how many of you, if everybody would just put in the chat box what grade they will be starting next year, that will help me out a lot. So if everybody could just hop on the chat and let me know what grade you will be in next year. Awesome. So a lot of you are ready to start writing your college essays. Here's the thing, 12th graders, or those potential 12th graders, you definitely want to get this done this summer because your senior year can get really hectic, as you probably can already imagine. Those of you who are starting even earlier, you're going to have a lot more time to practice. Some 10th graders, that's awesome. But those 12th graders, this is perfect. You're going to get this done this summer, okay? And then that's going to free you up from all that stress because you're going to be studying for the SAT, you're going to be studying for the ACT, you're going to be taking those tests again. So tackling this summer is something that you can do. So awesome. Kudos to you guys for being on point. Okay, so why is the personal statement so important? Okay, so we know that colleges look at hard factors like good grades, test scores. Okay, we know we have to have good grades. We know we have to have good test scores, period. Right? So you're already on that. The soft factors like teacher recommendations, extracurricular activities help, but the strongest soft factor that you look at are actually your essays. Okay, so you've got this guy over here. He's got really good grades, okay, really good test scores. You've got really good grades, really good test scores. So how are they going to choose? They can't accept everybody, right? So they need to see you more as an individual person. They're looking for a unique experience. They're looking for a good writer. They're looking for a good communicator. So the personal statement is important because it's going to show those colleges why they should choose you over that guy. Okay. It gives them insight into who you are as a person. They see you more as a person than just a number. Okay. What motivates you, how you communicate, how you follow directions. Hold on. I don't know why my Siri just popped up. That was weird. Sorry. How you communicate and follow directions, because you also need to very closely look at what the school is asking you to write a personal statement about. If it's asking you about a life lesson and you are writing about a time when something really happy happened to you, but you don't really get to the life lesson part, they're going to say, well, this person isn't really following directions. Okay. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you're going to have to write a lot in college, a lot. Okay. So they're also looking at your writing skills, which is something that will develop as the class goes on. So is an amazing personal statement going to get you into the college of your dreams? Probably not, but it can positively impact your application along with those other factors that we talked about. And it can really hurt you, even if you've got perfect SAT scores, ACT scores. above a 4.0 grade point average, if your personal statement is not unique or specific enough, it can really hurt your chances too. So the first thing you want to do is reveal something new about yourself. Okay, this is giving them the opportunity to learn about you as a person. You're going to write about something specific, something with substance, something that's unique. Now, what you guys are experiencing right now, what we're all experiencing right now, this pandemic, okay, is a great opportunity. It's not great. It's not great at all. But if there is something great about it that you can pull, that's what they want to hear about. They don't want to hear about how, we all had to stay at home. We all had to start wearing masks. We've all, that's not unique, right? We're experiencing that all over the country, all over the world. What they want to hear about is maybe something that you really took from this, bad experience and learned something, or it changed you in some way for the better. That would be a unique experience. Things like how your religion impacts your education, how a mentor helped you realize your potential, some event that shaped who you are today. And like I said, I think what we're all going through right now is definitely shaping all of us, hopefully for the better. Some days not so much for me. Some days I'm over it, but some days I'm grateful for time with my daughter and time to do yoga, things like that. Brainstorm, that's what we're going to be doing. So you need to think about this topic, okay? Because we can't just write about, maybe we're in marching band, okay? And maybe we put that as our extracurricular activity, which is great. That's a great extracurricular activity. But there's a lot of people in marching band. So how are you different from those people? What unique experience did you take away from that? Was your director a mentor? Did your director help, change the trajectory of your high school experience in some way? That's what they're looking for. I mean, if you're in marching band and you write an essay about how much you love music, it's like, well, we know you love music, otherwise you wouldn't be in the marching band, right? So you want to look for ways that you can turn that experience into something very personal and very unique, and that shows them who you are as a person. Word choice, tone, voice. I'm sure you've heard this over and over again from your English teachers. I'm an English teacher, okay? So I'm going to say that too. This should be your best sample of writing. It's not going to come overnight. You're going to have to revise it many times, one more time more than you probably think you do. The reason your English teacher tells you don't write that research paper the night before is because it doesn't give you enough time to process. It doesn't give you enough time to revise. Because revising a paper is not just about correcting grammar. It's about, sometimes when we've read something over and over again, our brains don't see where we can make those improvements. So it's important to step away for a day, 2 days, weeks, depending on how much time you have. And then you come back to it and you say, oh, well, that sounds kind of awkward, or I can say this in a different way, or I forgot to add this. So it should be your best writing sample. Take your time, revise. We're gonna work on avoiding redundant words or phrases, filler words, things that don't add any value, things that are awkward or confusing. And we also need to try to find a balance between formal, which is like how you would write a research paper, casual, which is how you talk to your friends, somewhere in the middle, an authentic voice. It needs to sound like you wrote it, like you're talking to them. So this is a time where you're not going to be super, super informal. You're not going to be super, super formal. There's a balance. They want to hear your voice. That's what I mean by voice. If you were my student, I would say, oh, I know that she wrote this because I know her and that's her voice. So we'll talk more about that as the classes go on. Practice, 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 revise, revise, revise. We're going to be doing a lot of that. It's important for those of you who are in high school to start journaling. What I mean by journaling is not necessarily, oh, I had this weird dream last night. No, I mean, you're thinking about your experiences that you're having in school. And unfortunately, right now, you're probably not having that many outside of school. But when we do get to go back to school, fingers crossed, maybe you did something with National Honor Society or, academic decathlon or something. And right after you have that experience, it's important for you to journal about it because you're going to have the most details about that writing right after you do it. Obviously, it's going to be harder to sort of reflect 3 years ago, I did this and that kind of thing. So keep that journal going. And that's something we'll talk about as class goes on. Don't procrastinate, which you're not. You're here, so you're not procrastinating. Get a head start. Even if you're a senior, you've got all summer, okay? So before you head into your hectic senior year and start, having to, really start applying to colleges and taking that SAT and ACT again, you'll have your personal statement done and you'll be like, I'm so ready. Like, I'm so ready. You won't be as stressed out and cramming, and it'll be a better personal statement because it hasn't been rushed. So kudos to all of you for being here. Even if your parents are making you be here, you'll thank them later. Okay, so now I want to read a sample, and if we have time, I might even read 2 samples. What do I mean by a personal statement? Okay, this is a sample I'm going to read called Flying. As a young child, as I was obsessed with flying. I spent hours watching birds fly, noting how the angle of their wings affected the trajectory of their flight. I would then waste tons of fresh printer paper, much to the dismay of my parents, to test out various wing types by constructing paper airplanes. One day, this obsession reached its fever pitch. Hold on, I got a question here. Yes, Kevin. Yes, it's recorded. One day, this obsession reached its fever pitch. I decided to fly. I built a plane out of a wooden clothes rack and blankets with trash bags as precautionary parachutes. As you can imagine, the maiden flight didn't go so well. After being in the air for a solid second, the world came crashing around me as I slammed onto the bed, sending shards of wood flying everywhere. Yet even as a 5-year-old, my first thoughts weren't about the bleeding scratches that covered my body. Why didn't the wings function like a bird's wings? Why did hitting something soft break my frame? Why hadn't the parachutes deployed correctly? Above all, why didn't I fly? As I grew older, my intrinsic drive to discover why stimulated a desire to solve problems, allowing my singular passion of flying to evolve into a deep-seated love of engineering. I began to challenge myself academically, taking the hardest STEM classes offered. Not only did this allow me to complete all possible science and math courses by the end of my junior year, but it also surrounded me with the smartest kids of the grades above me, allowing me access to the advanced research they were working on. As such, I developed an innate understanding of topics such as protein function in the brain and differential equation modeling early in high school, helping me develop a strong science and math foundation to supplement my passion for engineering. I also elected to participate in my school's engineering pathway. As a team leader, I was able to develop my leadership skills as I identified and utilized each member's strength to produce the best product. I sought to make design collaborative, not limited to the ideas of one person. In major group projects, such as building a hovercraft, I served as both president and devil's advocate, constantly questioning if each design was the best option, ultimately resulting in a more efficient model that performed slightly better than our initial prototype. Most of all, I sought to solve problems that impact the real world. Inspired by the water crisis in India, I developed a water purification system that combines carbon nanotube filters with shock electrodialysis to both desalinate and purify water more efficiently and cost effectively than conventional plants. The following year, I ventured into disease detection, designing a piezo-resistive micro cantilever. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, and detected the concentration of beta amyloid protein to medically diagnose a patient with Alzheimer's disease, a use for cantilevers that hadn't yet been discovered. The project received first honors at the Georgia Science Fair. Working on these two projects, I saw the raw power of engineering. An abstract idea gradually became reality. I was spending most of my days understanding why behind things while also discovering solutions to prevalent issues in a world that in a world that increasingly prioritizes a singular solution. I am captivated by engineering's ability to continuously offer better answers to each problem. 13 years have passed since that maiden flight, and I have yet to crack physical human flight. My 5-year-old self would have seen this as a colossal failure, but the intense curiosity that I found in myself that day is still with me. It has continued to push me, forcing me to challenge myself to tackle ever more complex problems, engrossed by the promise and applicability of engineering. I may never achieve human flight. However, now I see what once seemed like a crash landing as a runway, the platform off of which my love of engineering first took flight. Okay, so let's hop on the chat, and I want you to tell me some adjectives that you think describe this person. If I am a college admissions officer, I am going to think this student is what? Curious, motivated. Oops, sorry, that's my Siri again. I don't know why she's popping up. Dedicated, innovative, curious, determined, inspiring, determined, nerdy, passionate. Nerds are cool, by the way. Driven and passionate, persistent, curious, innovative, passionate. Yeah, and you know what else? Not only biomedical side, but what a great writer. So he's already, or she's already told us about, her math and science skills, but I'm reading this like, wow, what a great writer. It's got a beginning, a middle, an end, and a lesson learned. Creative, determined, nerdy, hardworking, brave. And I liked the part about solving real world problems. That's going to be somebody who I want to go to my college. That's going to be somebody who I want to find a vaccine for this coronavirus, right? That's going to be somebody who's going to be, working on solving the world's problems. Caring, Vivian, yeah. And I liked how the student also highlighted collaboration. In college and in life, you will be in situations where you will have to collaborate with other people. And that is a skill that not everybody develops. And that's something that colleges are looking for. You may be that kind of person who's like, oh, I don't want to do the group project. Just let me do it by myself. I don't want to have to rely on other people. Which is fine for some circumstances, but there are circumstances in life where you have to collaborate. You have to work together, build off of each other's problems. So I don't think we're going to have time to read the next one. However, I would like to show you real quick just some of the kinds of things that we'll be talking about. Interesting leads for personal essays. We'll do more with this in actual class, but just to see the kinds of things that we will do in class. Beginning with sounds or noises, shh, I love the sounds of onions sauteing in the pan. So this is going to be something about cooking, right? Action. I towed the starting line. I breathed deeply and tensed my legs, dreading the crack of the starter's pistol. So this is going to be about track. Setting description. There were mirrors on 3 walls in the studio. There were skylights overhead, so the light was almost blinding. My first dance lesson would surely be a memorable experience. Okay, dancing. My dad always, quote, my dad always said, the first mile is the hardest. So I started training for the race. Dialogue. I don't believe you learned that whole routine that quickly, laughed my coach. Question. Have you ever wondered how the magician always picks the correct card? I have. Definition. Soil is small pieces of rock and decayed matter. I use it to grow my plants. An unusual fact or detail. Box cameras were first sold in 1888. Now most photographs like mine are digital. Okay, so these are going to be the kinds of tips that, we talk about in class. So I have done a lot of talking, and now it is time for you guys to ask me questions about the class. So what questions do you guys have? I hope you're thinking. I'm not shy. How much work will we have after each session? You're going to get a homework assignment after each session. You will have, you're going to be writing parts of personal statements, and then we're going to work into writing personal statements, but you'll have homework every night. What if your life-changing event isn't big like the one we just read? That's why we're going to brainstorm. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out, Vivian. Oh, here's we go. What would you write about if you haven't necessarily found your passion yet? Oh, there's so many things. You don't have to write about your passion. Major life lessons, things, unusual experiences that you've had. It doesn't have to be your passion. This student particularly wrote about her passion or his passion, but that's not necessarily what you need to write about. So we're going to see all kinds of essays. They're not all about what you're passionate about. Can I tie all my experiences to cutting my hair as a sort of interesting hook? Rachel, do you mean you're like cutting your hair in quarantine because you can't go to the hairdresser? Is that what you mean? Because I think I could help you do that. So you will have homework. You will get personalized feedback. And what other questions do we have? I can see that a lot of you just seem anxious about, like, you're like, oh, that was really good. I don't know if I can do that. That's why you're going to take this class. That's why you're going to learn about different kinds of personal statements. They're not all going to be about, I invented the, cure for coronavirus. I mean, that hasn't happened yet. So there's lots of different things we can write about, not necessarily your passion, not necessarily, yes, every Tuesday. No, it won't be on Tuesday. It'll be Wednesdays and Fridays. And I think we're going to talk about that at the end. It ties to a life-changing event that made me cut it. Oh yeah, Rachel. Yeah. Life-changing is the key word there, for sure. Anything can be a life-changing event if you write about it in a unique and specific way, I would say. Will colleges accept a life-changing event that's dark? Yes. Yes. Definitely. A lot of people write about really tough things that they've had to overcome. Any other questions? What do you mean by internal logic? Do you want to hop on the mic? I'm not sure I understand that question. Is there any internal logic within the personal essay? How long, wait, let's see. How long does it take on average to perfect an essay, personal statement? It depends. It depends student by student. I mean, some of my students are already really great writers, so it might take them less time. But that doesn't mean that if you're not a really great writer that we can't revise. So that's going to depend from student to student. Are there things, methods, if to get material, events for essays if you don't have ideas? Yeah, we're going to brainstorm. That's what we're going to do. We're going to brainstorm all kinds of things. I feel like I showed you an example of a really high achieving student who has, her life already figured out, and that's great for her. But there's other personal statements that are also just as fantastic. We're going to talk about tips. We're going to talk about, like I just showed you those leads. We're going to talk about how to start an essay like this, how to start an essay like this, or this type of essay versus, this type of essay. It looks like the personal essay starts with the small events and elaborate with recent achievements and looking forward to the future. That's one way. That's how this one was modeled. They're not all like that. You're going to hear me say that a lot. And I'm realizing just now how much I'm saying, I hate when I do that. I just did it again. So that's one way to organize it. It doesn't have to be. It's a chance for you to show the college who you are and how well you can communicate who you are. Something, that you've learned, something that you've, grown from, some experience. And yes, they definitely want to hear about, where that's going to take you into the future. And if you don't know yet, you don't know yet, but there's other types of personal statements that aren't necessarily what do you want to do with the rest of your life. So that's a lot of times why people go to college, to figure it out. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was your age. And I changed my major several times in college. So not everybody has it all figured out, especially as a teenager. Okay, so like I said earlier, we're all going through this coronavirus. Okay, the world is going through this coronavirus. Um, some of us are experiencing it differently than others, but essentially, we've been forced to life as we know it just changed overnight, right? And just all of a sudden, it's like we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything, we can't hang out with our friends. We're wearing masks, we're wearing gloves. Um, so just writing about that happening to you is not going to stand out, right? Because we're all, well, some people aren't wearing masks, but I don't know what's wrong with them. But I'm wearing a mask. Um, but I feel like we're going to come out of this with different um, values, maybe. We're going to value things differently. We're going to value maybe human connection more than we used to. Um, so picking something unique that you have learned, you will learn, you're learning um, from this experience is what's going to make your essay about experiencing this whole pandemic different from somebody else's. So with all of these things, it's just like I said with marching band. Okay, well, if you're in the marching band, we know you love music. Okay, so what are you going to write about that's going to stand out, that's going to be unique, that's going to be different? um, maybe you play soccer and you won the soccer championship. Well, you don't just want to write about like the day I won the soccer championship. Like, what else? What did that mean to you? Why was that special? Why was that unique? So yeah, so this whole virus thing, I mean, this is, major. This is like every single one of you in this group right now could all write about this experience, but you're all going to write about it in a different way because you're going to have unique and personal, specific experiences, specific things that you've learned, how you've grown, or like I said, you've changed your mind about, values have shifted. Um, Everybody says, live in the moment, live in the moment. And you're like, yeah, I know, but I'm planning for the future. Well, right now, it's hard to plan for the future, right? Because we don't know if our schools are going to open next year or if we're going to be virtual. We don't know what's going to happen if someone in our family is going to get sick. We don't know all of those things. So I've learned that I'm actually, for the first time, really living in the moment because you just don't know, what's going to happen. So finding some sort of specific, edge to what you are experiencing that's maybe different than other people's um, will make your essay stand out. I hope that helps. Any other questions? I'm excited. You seem like a good group. Yes, and let me share this. Here we go. I apologize. I did not, my Siri is not turned off and she just keeps wanting to talk. I apologize for that. Okay, so Wednesdays and Fridays from 3:30 to 4:45 for 3 weeks. And it says grades 6 through 8, but it's not. It's for all grades. Middle school and up for sure. And it's mostly high schoolers in here, so Well, I am excited. I'm excited to work with you guys. I'm excited to read your personal experiences, and I'm going to hopefully lessen some of that anxiety about writing about yourself because we're not used to that. We're used to writing about, research or authors or something else. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can sort of dig in and start thinking about things. Yes, it does start tomorrow. Yep. Thank you, Anna.
All right, thank you guys for joining today. We would like to give some claps to Miss Adams. She did a great job doing this open class for everyone. And if you have interest in learning more about this class, we have input the class website detail into the chat box. Feel free to check them out. And we are actually starting tomorrow, and we have limited space left. So if you could react fast, you could still reserve your spot. Feel free to add us on WeChat, call us, or email us. We'll be able to send you guys all that information shortly. All right. Thank you guys for participating. Have a great day.